Hello, 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 hello. Cheers. What's happening, people? Let a couple drift in, see what happens here. Excuse me. There's some of the usual suspects. Philip Ulanowski, Stuart Lewis. Looks like Stuart Lewis twice. And everybody's favorite girl. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You got Erwin Sewell, Kent Robinson, and then on the bottom, Dennis King and Myra Lansky-Boland. You're at work? Grilla Vanilla Rilla. She'd be chillin'. He, she, not sure. Grilla Vanilla Rilla. Taking that penicilla. Listening to the Bob Dylan. Chilla, chilla, chilla. So what's up, everybody? How you doing? I got a bunch of things open up here. Let's see something real quick. Little something I want to share with you guys real quick. My little stoicism bit for the day. A stoic response to anger. Right? So we got a little quote from Marcus Aurelius there. He says, keep this thought handy when you feel a fit of rage coming on. How do we handle our anger? It isn't manly to be enraged. Think about it. Is it a man who's flipping out and acting like a bitch? No offense, I don't even mean female, just acting like a bitch. Rather, gentleness and civility are more human and therefore manlier. Right? So ladies, when you give your man that shit test and he flips out and acts like a bitch, it is kind of effeminate, isn't it? Where a real man, generally speaking, is not going to feed into that. You know what I mean? It's a shit test. A real man doesn't give way to anger and discontent, and such a person has strength, courage, and endurance, unlike the angry and complaining. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, and the last great Stoic. Something may happen today that upsets you. Someone might be rude, your car could break down, an employee might mess something up despite your very careful instructions. Your instinct may be to yell and get angry. It's natural, but just because it's natural doesn't mean it's a good idea. So, a lot of that has to do with expectations. So you get in your car in the morning, and you're heading to work, you only got so much time to get to work, and your expectation is you're not going to hit any traffic, nobody's going to cut you off. So when it happens, it's kind of unexpected, and it gets you pissed off. It's best to expect the unexpected, that way you're not pissed off when it happens. Just managing expectations a little. Anger, I've always had problems with anger, so to me it's interesting. And Marcus Aurelius says the anger is actually more harmful than the thing that caused your anger. So somebody says something or does something you don't like and you flip out, that anger is worse. And what could come from it? Anyway. So what's going on? How many we got in here? 11. That's good. Real quick here. Let's see. Stoicism. The endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. Just handling shit. Just trying to handle shit better. That's all it is. There's a 50-cent word. Vicissitudes. That's just the ups and downs and changes in every day. How do we handle it? Life's going to throw tests at you every day. Stoicism says you got to look forward to those tests. You got to look forward to the times where somebody makes you angry, something pisses you off, because it's an opportunity to practice your newfound philosophy. Right? It's not easy. It sounds easy, but it isn't. In real life, it's not easy. So at the end of the day, you look back on your day and you say, well, when were the times that I passed the test and how many times did I fail? So you might give in to anger many times in a day, but one time you manage your anger well. Concentrate on that one at the end of the day and say, you know what? I won that time. And then each day it gets a little better and a little better. Guys, I was just checking this book out here before we get into it. Willie Lynch's Newest Slave. It's about rap music. And you see the Jewish star there. And how Jewish money people took over music. And the kind of shit that they... the only shit that they sign, how they took it over. So Jewish people decide what music is going to be, whether you're black or white. But the black music has really undergone some terrible, terrible changes. It's not all terrible, but for the most part, black people used to make fucking great music. And now the industry, all they sign, not all they sign, but a good bit of it is intentionally to degrade the black man, to degrade the black woman, right? It's the same thing they do to white people in our media, in our songs, in the movies. Rap is a form of degeneracy, right? But it didn't start that way, right? Rap originally was a black man's thing. You know, they were just, it was a positive, more positive message about trying to overcome in the hood and dealing with adversity. And then the Jews took it over and made it all about guns, money, bitches, and all kinds of the nastiest shit. I was just checking out this one paragraph here, and it struck me. It says, this is just a preface, mind you. The guy says, individuals continue to argue over Israel and the United States. Regardless of what position you hold, unless you view Israel as the United States and the United States as Israel, your arguments are fundamentally flawed. People argue over Democrat or Republican. Again, two sides of the same coin. This guy's based as fuck, right? He understands. This is a way of dividing us, left and right. He says it's an illusion. Two sides of the same coin. Republicans and Democrats are sustained and maintained by the same forces and desires. They have superficial differences on tactics. Yet they have the same goal and agenda. How many times have we heard, Democrats and Republicans fight about gay rights, fight about abortion, but when it comes to fighting fucking wars and getting our people killed overseas, they both agree. When it comes to bailing out the banks with our fucking money, they both agree. I gotta stop cursing so much. It's probably not that good. But, so they superficially disagree on tactics and issues, but fundamentally they agree. There's no difference. Little fun. If you guys ever get time, go look up the top 10 financial contributors to any presidential race or any congressional race, right? The top 10, you'll find 6 of them are the same people, right? So Bank of America, or let's say Citibank, Bank of America, Exxon Mobil, you'll see that they back both horses. So no matter who wins, Exxon wins, or Citibank wins, or JP Morgan wins. You back both horses. So no matter who gets in, they're both going to have to do the bidding of JP Morgan or Citibank. It's the same thing. So they might disagree on tactics, right? They're going to say different things when the cameras are on. Like if you're a Republican president, and you'll give lip service, like Trump right now. Trump basically to the white people now is what Obama was to the black people, right? Obama came out with all this hope and change and all this shit. I even got caught up in it. Like I saw during the inauguration on the first time, I almost teared up. Seeing all those old black people in the front row at the inauguration, I'm like, wow, this is really historic, man. I'm like, I feel good for those people who have struggled. You know, like the older black people have been through some tough shit. And I felt they deserved to see this, you know? It's all bullshit. So they got the black people's hopes up with Obama, only to shit on him. And now Trump's doing the same thing with white people. The white people are like, yeah, we're going to make America great again. We're going to get the illegal people out. We're going to start, you know. It's all bullshit. They give you lip service. Lip service, right? We're going to build the wall. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Meanwhile, very little changing. Very little. So he goes on. This was funny, I thought. By the way, who is this talking? It's the author's note. And the author is Philip A. Muhammad. He says, Republicans and Democrats are sustained and maintained by the same forces and desires. They have superficial differences on tactics, yet they have the same goal and agenda. He says, it boils down to if they kiss you while fucking you, or if they slap you while fucking you, the bottom line is you're getting fucked. That's good. That's good shit right there. I can't wait to read this. He's going and he's saying, as we move forward, recognize these following organizational names. Anti-Defamation League. The Independent Order of B'nai B'rith. We've been covering that. The Jewish Defense League. The JDL, not the GDL. The Jewish Defense Organization. The Jewish Task Force. Are we seeing a theme? The World Jewish Congress. Yeah, I believe I'm seeing a pattern. So, this really looks good. Although the hip-hop nation is presently viewed as a single unit divided among its own citizens based on coasts, regions, East Coast versus West Coast, cliques, gangs, and affiliations, hip-hop would be more accurately described as a single empire, governed and controlled by a certain group of like-minded slave masters. The same slave masters that ran the slave ships, pinned it all on the white man. White man isn't free of guilt, obviously, but there's one group that gets away scot-free. Not anymore. These individuals, this group of like-minded slave masters, are hell-bent on manipulating and exploiting the existing differences that make up the plantation, presently referred to as the hip-hop nation. It's all bullshit. I can't wait to read this. This looks good. This other thing I was checking out related to Jews, So you say, the Illuminati, what's that got to do with Jews? Jacobinism, the French Revolution, right here. French Revolution was started by the Jacobins. Who were the Jacobins? A sect of the Illuminati. Who were the Illuminati? A newly formed, they were formed on May 1st, 1776. A pretty famous year. May 1st. You know how communism has May Day? It's May 1st. Same day the Illuminati was formed. Illuminati was formed by who? Adam Weishaupt. At the behest of who? Lord Rothschild. So from the beginning, the Illuminati is a Jewish thing. It took over Freemasonry, and the first thing they said they were taking out, Christianity. The first thing they went after was the religion, and then the monarchs. They went after the religion because it's a common banner under which Europeans were united. Okay? They convinced them that, the church had its problems. The church was not perfect, but they convinced them that they were evil beyond repair and that they needed to take them out. And that's the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror. They were chopping off heads left and right, where you had Robespierre and all those characters. That was all fomented by this Jewish movement, this Jewish revolutionary spirit. You guys, anybody E. Michael Jones? You guys heard of E. Michael Jones? He talks about, if you guys ever bring him up, he talks about the Jewish revolutionary spirit. Well, this is when it started, back here. And you had several movements. You had Napoleon was part of it, where all of Europe, it was like a world war, where all of Europe was consumed in war, people dying all left and right. You had the French Revolution. You had the Bolshevik Revolution. You had a lot of shit in between the Bolshevik Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. But these were all fomented by the same people. Today, the revolutions in the world today, the Arab Spring, all these things got the same people behind it, the Jewish revolutionary spirit. And so we need to be aware of these things. I can't wait to read this. I got so many damn books. If I lived 1,000 lifetimes, I don't think I could read them all. So, let's get started, see what we got here. Let's take a look at the chat. Kavanaugh. I got something for you on Kavanaugh I want to talk about. Let's see what we got. Just followed me on Gab. Thanks, Yogi. Gab's been, it started out hot for me, but now it's just kind of tapering off. I keep posting shit there, but it's kind of lame. Although there are a lot of like-minded people there. It's good when it's going, but kind of fizzled out for me. Anger management. Marge says anger management is very important. Yes. Jazz was part of the original degradation, you think? Break it up to family, introduce drugs. Yes, we talked about that, how the drugs were introduced into the lowest economic communities, tended to overwhelmingly be black. I got that book too. I want to read that. Dark Alliance talks all about that. Like I like to say, I laugh because all the black people used to tell me they're bringing drugs in the community, and I used to laugh at them, and now I know they were right. And he said something that makes sense. We don't have freaking heroin labs and meth labs in the hood. That shit comes from other places. Right, he killed his gay boy. Good call on Obama and Trump. Thank you. Yeah, it's that they play out both sides, one after another. Now, the next one will probably be a Democrat. If not this election, the next one for sure. And so they keep playing one side to the other. They keep batting you back and forth like a freaking ping pong ball. Obama did more for gay rights than he did for black people. Obama's He was a straight up communist. That's what he is. He didn't care about black people. He obviously doesn't care about white people either, but all they care about is that revolutionary Jewish spirit. Communism is a Jewish thing. Created by Jews, sustained by Jews, fomented by Jews. They suck people up along with the movement to get people to go with it, but we know who's masterminding that shit. So Ron Sheckelson says, Kavanaugh is a 100% crypto Jew. I'm not sure about that, but I do have something to say on Kavanaugh. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was. I like Pat Little, but he's already been labeled a racist. Well, you knew that was coming. I like Pat Little too, but some of his man on the street things were a little bit cringeworthy. Like he goes hard, and the people are like, they don't know how to take him. It's kind of funny in a way. See how people handle it. The Jews control the police and the army in America. Dutch East Indies ran slave ships. Yep, and the opium wars with China. They attacked China to make them take their opium. Run by major families like the Sassoons. That anybody know? This was new for me. The Sassoon family is a big deal. They were running opium, and they're Jewish. And they are connected tightly with Rothschild. So the old man, Rothschild, the patriarch of the family, when he got started, he was working for the Oppenheimers. So the Oppenheimers are an old-time, old-money Jewish family from Europe. The Hasbros, no, that I don't know anything about the Hasbros yet. But isn't it, pardon me, isn't it where they get together online and everybody's, flagging videos and posing as this and that? Yeah, Israel's got a lot of that going on. We need to infiltrate the police and the army. I've always wondered that if shit went down in this country, would our army fire on American citizens? I don't know. You would hope not. So maybe if we can get to enough people that we can make a situation where it wouldn't happen. Crack was bombed on poor people. Absolutely. I did not know that. You guys know Freeway Ricky Ross? L.A.? He was connected with that Iran-Contra Nicaragua shit. It was something like they would run, the CIA would run guns down to the Nicaraguans. They would get money and buy cocaine with it. Then they would take the cocaine to LA and all these different cities. They would run it into Mena, Arkansas, where Clinton was president or governor. They get that money, and then they were I don't know how it worked exactly, but they were running guns to Iran, and they were getting money and funding these Sandinista and Nicaraguan rebels. They were just communists, basically, as far as I know. New York Times, Wendell Rawls, blah, blah, blah. If you're talking about Mary Fagan, link it. Mary Fagan, that's who was the guy that raped and killed her? Frank, I think his name was Leo Max Frank. And they tried to pin it on a brother, and even the white jury and the white judge said, nope. I can't wait to read that. I got so many books I want to read. All right, I want to talk to you real quick about Kavanaugh. It's all about what he did sexually, right? Supposedly did 30 years ago. All right, why aren't they talking about some real shit, right? Why are we talking about this this sexual shit, right? Let's see. All right, so here's Kavanaugh. I took 5 minutes on Wiki, and I found a bunch of things that I'd rather talk about than whether he got laid in high school or not. You know what I mean? These girls are acting like, you know, they're so innocent. I don't believe any of it. But I don't trust this fucking guy either at the same time. All right, this guy, number one, he worked for a firm called Kirkland and Ellis. All right? Kirkland and Ellis is the number one grossing, third most profitable law firm in the world. Third most in the world. They're making per equity partner of $4.7 million per partner. All right, so what's Kirkland and Ellis do? All they do is represent all the biggest corporations and banks in the world. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. They defended companies like Rockefeller's Standard Oil, right? The Associated Press, the AP, owned by Rothschild, right? Let's see. I guess I could let you guys see this. Sorry. Standard Oil, Associated Press, the Chicago Board of Trade, crooked as can be. Let me see if I can make that so you guys can see a little better. Alright. That's a little better. You'll have to take my word on it. Now, down here is what I want to show you. Look at this. So you got this guy. Where is he? Notable attorneys and alumni. See this guy, Viet D. Din? This guy is a colleague of this guy here. Right? What did he do? Chief architect of the Patriot Act. Oh. Okay, so this guy's colleague from his own law firm, Viet D. Din, right here, this dude. That guy. He wrote the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act, you know, the one that took our rights away and made it so that they can just fucking, you know, they can grip you up, charge you it, they can just call you a terrorist, grip you up, and you have no rights to a lawyer, to a trial, to anything. This guy's Kirkland and Ellis is the firm. He works for the firm that wrote the Patriot Act. Okay, number one, that's a big red flag. Look at all the people they've represented: Heinz, Baxalta, Molson Coors, the pharmaceutical industries, Bain Capital. You remember what's his face that ran for president? Who was he? Mitt Romney. Look at this, Bjork. Oh my God, it's a law firm that's represented some of the worst examples of people in the world. All right. Now, what about Kavanaugh himself? What has he done? See, these are the questions that aren't getting talked about because this is all distraction. My feeling is that the Republicans and Democrats are playing pretend for the American people again, and the drug-addled people are like, "Oh my God, did he rape the girl?" And the Republicans say, "He didn't do it. That's all bullshit." And the Democrats are going, "Yeah, he's guilty, and we must defend women's rights." And meanwhile, look what's not getting talked about. All right, Kavanaugh. What did Kavanaugh do? What has he done? What big cases has he been in? Notable cases? The Affordable Care Act. He voted against that. Let's see Here you go. The Fourth Amendment and civil liberties. So he already works for the law firm that wrote the Patriot Act that took our liberties away. But did you also know that he voted with the NSA? I don't know if you guys can see that. The NSA and their right to spy on us. He said it wasn't against the Constitution, this son of a bitch. Okay? He dissented from the denial of hearing after the circuit found that attaching a global positioning system tracking to a vehicle violated the Fourth Amendment. He opposed that. So the court found that violated the Fourth Amendment. You can't just go put tracking devices on people's vehicles. Guess what? He said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Just like Obama. Yes, you can, right? Let's see here. Down here in Clayman versus Obama. This second one down here. Clayman versus Obama. Kavanaugh concurred with the circuit court when the circuit court denied a hearing of its decision to vacate a district court order blocking the NSA's warrantless bulk collection of telephonic metadata. What's that mean? He dissented. So the court wanted to block the NSA from spying on you. He said, no, don't worry. It's not really violating your fucking constitutional rights. Right? The Fourth Amendment says what? That we are supposed to be safe and secure in our person, in our personal effects, and that it protects you against illegal searches and seizures, and that there must be some type of probable cause, and then there must be a warrant issued before anybody can spy on you and go look on your shit. He said no. This guy that we're all talking about whether he got some ass in high school. Meanwhile, this is the kind of shit he votes on. He's an Exxon Mobil guy. What happens when a case comes before the court with Exxon Mobil? How's he going to vote on that? Nobody's asking him these questions. Not the Republicans, not the Democrats. You would think because he's a Republican nominee to the Supreme Court that the Democrats would be asking some tough questions, right? About this kind of shit. They're not asking it. Why? It's a dog and pony show. And I can tell you why it's a dog and pony show. Look at this. So we looked at Kirkland Ellis. Let me bring you to here. We looked at Kirkland Ellis. How about when Clinton was being investigated? What were we talking about? Oh, Monica Lewinsky and a head job, right? Was anybody talking about the Whitewater controversy? When they was up to all kind of financial shenanigans? Nothing. There was a little bit. They mentioned it a few times, but basically nothing. How about this? How about when the Clintons were taking money from the Chinese? It goes on and on with the Clintons. What were we talking about that? No, we were talking about him getting a head job. It's a dog and pony show. We don't give a shit if he's getting a head job. I don't give a shit if this guy, Kavanaugh, got frisky with some girl who obviously didn't complain. Obviously, she didn't say anything the next day or the next week or the next year or the next decade or the next 30 years. She waited till he was about to go to the Supreme Court and then comes out with it. This is all dog and pony show to distract the American people. It's always a sex scandal. Yes. Did they talk about the Clintons with this? When Bill Clinton was running CIA cocaine through Mena, Arkansas? No, we talked about Monica Lewinsky and a dress with a load on it. The lowest common denominator, just to distract the American people. This has all happened before. Were we talking about Vince Foster and how he got murdered and made it to look like a suicide, which is most likely what happened? Nah, we were talking about Monica Lewinsky, right? Okay, when else has this happened? You guys remember Clarence Thomas? Remember another Supreme Court nomination, Clarence Thomas? What were we talking about? Anita Hill, sex scandal, right? We're talking about Anita Hill again, sex scandal. What should we have been talking about? Let's see. Should we have been talking about how Clarence Thomas was a Monsanto man? And that he actually heard cases in front of the Supreme Court having to do with Monsanto? How do you think an ex-Monsanto lawyer is going to vote when it comes to Monsanto having a case in front of the Supreme Court? Were we talking about that? No, it was Anita Hill. All lies and all bullshit. Clarence Thomas got in anyway. The sexual allegations didn't stop him from getting in. Bill Clinton got found not guilty in his impeachment because all we were talking about is Monica Lewinsky, and it diverted attention from the main things. And this guy Kavanaugh's going to get in too. But in the meantime, they're going to distract the attention, take up all the time talking about this sex bullshit, and avoid talking about anything of any importance whatsoever. This is how the two parties work together. It's fake. When the cameras are on, you look at that asshole from New Jersey. What's his name? What the hell's his name? The black dude. He puts on this big act, like he's so offended and he's so sticking up for women's rights and blah, 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 blah. It's an act. When the cameras go off and these Republicans and Democrats are in the back aisles or whatever, and there's no cameras around. Hey, how you doing, buddy? How's the kids? How's the wife and kids? Oh, yeah? How's he doing in college? But. Cameras are on. And another thing, you Republicans this and you Democrats that. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Look at how they vote. Look at who's giving them money. It's all fake. Fake as hell. Just to show you that, while we're talking about this bullshit, we could be asking some real questions. How about the FDA's revolving door? Where people who work for the pharmaceutical industry and Monsanto leave their jobs to go work for the FDA. And then after they leave the FDA, they go back to working for the corporations they worked for. Look at that. The amazing revolving door. Monsanto, FDA, EPA. Are we talking about any of that? Nope. Now this here I wanted to show you. I found the people that wrote this book that we're doing, right? Where are we? This book here. The Ugly Truth About the ADL. It's called EIR. I found a whole bunch of shit on the ADL, and I'm going to be going off. I'm going to be putting it all online. I found the motherlode. So, look at this. ADL settles spying case rather than go to trial. The case of the ADL, executive intelligence, there's all kind of shit going on. ADL publishes anti-black hate literature. ADL faction in American history. ADL role in the LaRouche task force. This EIR, the people who've written this book and all these articles, is from the Lyndon LaRouche people. It's no wonder, if you remember, this book talks about how they were going after Lyndon LaRouche big time. That's who wrote this book. I just figured it out. I really didn't know who the EIR was. So I'm learning too. Look at this. ADL crowd rallies to subvert Mideast peace. FEC. What is this? FEC finds ADL and MC, whatever that is, broke law versus LaRouche. The case of the ADL B'nai B'rith, agents of a foreign power, Israel. Look at all this shit. I hit the frickin' motherlode. It's page after page after page of ADL stuff. Look. Racists claim black anti-Semitism. ADL in the Congress. ADL espionage. ADL runs the B'nai B'rith. And what is that? Anglican elite runs the B'nai B'rith, ADL. Anti-drug group sues the ADL. Money talks. Everyone walks. ADL spy probe. ADL caught trying to sway a judge. ADL uses Farrakhan hearing to target Clinton. On and on. ADL, on and on. ADL's hate crimes are backfiring. ADL. Let's click 3. What else? How many? ADL. It doesn't end. I'm going to read them all. So the ADL wants to, with all their hate propaganda, hate against whites, hate against blacks, hate against Arabs, and they meddle in between them all and try to make everybody fight and divide everybody. And then they're going to get on YouTube and tell us that we're hateful. It's a joke. It's a real joke. It's like, I don't know. It'd be like Jeffrey Dahmer getting a job at the church, at the Vatican, as the Pope. It's ridiculous. Anyway, just a couple of things that I've been running over in my mind here. Let's see. And things I want to do. There you go. ADL, FBI, racist conspiracy against America. There's J. Edgar Hoover, the cross-dressing homosexual who lived with a man, but he's going to tell everybody else what's moral. Racist ADL hits African Americans. Oh, yeah. Oh, I got the goods on these guys. I got the goods. Look at this. Just volume after volume of this EIR magazine. It goes all the way back to the 70s. You know how much shit I have on the ADL right now? The ADL is going to tell us what hate is all about. The ADL is going to tell us what's moral and what's racist. The ADL. Okay, enough of that. Okay, let's get into it. What do you think about that, guys? I mean, is that amazing? Is it me? Let's check this chat. Yeah, they track us with our cell phones. Yeah, how about that shit? That this Kavanaugh head fake. That's what the whole thing is about. I guarantee that both of these parties are working together. Could you blame me for thinking along conspiratorial lines? I mean, really. It's crazy. Crazy fake McCain funeral? Well, I don't know anything about that. Yep, Kavanaugh not only rooted or voted against our amendment rights, our Fourth Amendment rights in particular, but his partner at the law firm wrote the fucking Patriot Act. They're all scumbags, every last one of them. Like, in a way, I'm concerned about if these crazy lefties get in the Supreme Court, what's going to happen to, quite honestly, white people. We're under attack, and these lefties want to call us racist. They want to pass this anti-hate legislation. There's no such thing as a hate crime. There's crime. There's no such thing as hate speech. There's either free speech, but you can't do any terroristic threats. You can't incite violence. So free speech has limitations, and free speech has consequences, but there's no such thing as hate speech. It's ridiculous. How are they going to tell? How do they define hate speech? How do you define a hate crime? You're going to get into my mind and find out what I was thinking as I committed a crime? You're going to get into my mind and tell me? So the lefties scare me in that regard. But you look at this Kavanaugh guy, and it's no better. No matter what we do, we're going to lose. This bastard's taking our rights away too. So which one's worse? They got us frickin' screwed. Either way we go. So half of America thinks we got to get Kavanaugh in. It's in our interest. And the other half says we got to get him out of there. It's in our interest. Nope. Both sides lose no matter what. ADL tracks us. They use software, correct? Blunt Man. Yeah, I think they got what's up, Blunt Man? They've got betting now. They have DraftKings at the casino. You can go down and bet the games, but I don't mess with that. I play enough DraftKings as it is, and it's small time. I'm not going to the casino and get big time with it. Besides, I can play DraftKings here, and I don't even have to leave. I don't even have to go anywhere. Let's see. Hate speech is truth. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Hate facts. Yeah, when you speak the truth, that's hate. Yes, I see what you're saying. Hate speech is anything that names them. Blunt Man says, if you Google every single Major League Baseball World Series logo, you'll see when the Red Sox won, the logo had 2 flags in it. This year it has 2 flags on it. So I'm betting on the Red Sox to win this year. All right. I'll have to tell my buddy, you know who. because he's getting some bets in. Oh yeah, you remember the Black Sox 1919? Who, if you remember, fixed that? We went over it in this book. Honestly, the ADL had something to do with it. It was a Jewish gangster, wasn't it? Meyer Lansky or Rothstein or something like that. Anyhow, let me get down to business. Let's get down to business. All right, here we go. The next chapter is called Railroad. I'll get you guys to the book. Railroad. Incidentally, you guys know where the term railroaded came from? When the railroads first started in the 1800s, it was so crooked. The Congress people were buying up land where it was going to be subsidized, and then they sold it at high prices. The railroad guys would get together, and they would try to... So the people got beat, basically, is what it is. So they called it getting railroaded. They were the original finaglers, the big time. They were the first big corporations in America, were the railroads. And at that time, what would happen is like, say you're Rockefeller and you want to ship your oil on the railroads. You go and approach one of the railroad guys and say, listen, well, between me and you ship, I'll make sure you don't have any empty cars. You ship with me, you give me a special price that no one else gets, and blah, 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 I work with you. Well, all the railroad corporations would get together and they would try to fix prices. So they didn't want anybody undercutting the other guy. So they said, all right, they would have meetings and they would get together, this railroad, and this railroad, all agree on prices. But then a guy like Rockefeller would secretly approach somebody and get them to give him a lower price. So these scumbags, they tried to get together to fix prices, but there is no honor amongst thieves. And they were all cutting each other's throats. But they couldn't spy on each other to figure out who was doing what. So they started... it was something like the FDA. What was it called? I can't remember, but it was 3 letters, and it was a railroad commission. They created a government body to spy on each other to make sure that they were upholding their price fixing agreements. So like when we see the FDA, we think they're working in our interest. No, they're there to smash competition for the big boys, to keep them grandfathered in, and also to make sure that no one cheats on their agreements. It was the ICC, I think it was, the International Commerce Commission or something like that. It's all crooked, and that's where the term railroaded come from. So let's see what's going on. Railroad. In early March 1986, within days of the assassination of Sweden's Prime Minister Olof Palme, ADL fact-finding department chief Erwin Sewell was en route to Stockholm. An Oxford University-trained Fabian socialist, Sewell was the ADL's longtime top dirty trickster. Since 1978, with the publication of the book Dope, Inc., Sewell's efforts had been almost obsessively focused against Lyndon LaRouche, the American political economist who had commissioned the anti-drug study published by EIR, or EIR. That's those are the people that wrote this book. Sewell's transatlantic voyage to Stockholm was in pursuit of that obsession, working in tandem with the East German secret police, the Stasi, the Soviet KGB, Swedish socialists, and NBC TV. Sewell helped launch the disinformation campaign, blaming LaRouche and his Swedish collaborators, in the European Labour Party for the Palme assassination. Just as Sewell's efforts were beginning to bear fruit with a series of quote-unquote LaRouche killed Palme smear stories in the U.S., Swedish and Soviet press, the ADL trickster was suddenly confronted with a major crisis. On March 16, 1986, 2 LaRouche-backed candidates, Mark Fairchild and Janice Hart, won the Illinois Democratic Party primary elections for lieutenant governor and secretary of state, respectively. The LaRouche candidates' victories were no fluke. LaRouche-backed candidates had been winning between 20 to 40% of the vote in Democratic Party elections or primary elections in different parts of the country since the early 80s. A leading Democrat Party pollster and had written frantic messages to the Illinois State Party chairman, warning about a LaRouche upset months before the election. Can't have some guy coming in and taking our gig. Not surprisingly, the upset victory by the LaRouche slate was electrifying. The Wall Street and Freemasonic circles who owned the ADL were shocked into action. You hear that, Blunt Man? They just mentioned your boys. They mentioned your boys. Let's see. The Freemasons and Wall Street, the people who own the ADL, were shocked into action. They had to do something. Can't have this outsider winning elections. Sewell hurried back to New York, where he oversaw the preparation and mass distribution of a violent ADL smear sheet against LaRouche. Over the next few months, according to the records of the Federal Election Commission, over 6,000 spies of the ADL libel at a cost of at least $10,000 were circulated to every member of Congress, 1,580 news outlets and other government offices and opinion makers. Tens of thousands of media attacks against LaRouche, branding him as everything from an anti-Semite to a KGB agent to a neo-Nazi and an international terrorist, were published in the United States alone. Does this sound familiar, guys? You're either a Nazi, you're an anti-Semite, it's the same old tricks. Among some anti-Zionist lobby and third world circles, the ADL even accused LaRouche of being a closet mole for the Israeli Mossad. He's the Mossad. So once again, they're blaming other people for what they do. It's called projection. The invariant, the not changing, the invariant in all the contradictory slanders conjured up by the ADL was to scare people away from the LaRouche political movement. Wow, did you guys hear that news story about LaRouche being an anti-Semite or a Nazi? Oh, I don't want to vote for any of the LaRouche candidates, because now in every media outlet and every newspaper all around the country, all you hear is anti-Semite, Nazi, anti-Semite, Nazi. And after a while, people start thinking anti-Semite, Nazi. And it works. That's why we've got to get our own type of media. Commandeer this internet like nobody's ever done it before. The ADL smear campaign was a panicked and flagrant violation of its tax-exempt status. Hold up, whoa! The ADL is tax-exempt? Wait, in order to get a tax exemption in this country, you have to do charitable works. Oh my God. That makes me want to vomit. It was also a violation of FEC rules, which prohibit a tax-exempt organization from engaging in politicking. On June 16, 1987, the FEC officially acknowledged that the ADL action against LaRouche was illegal. But a few months later, the commissioners decided that they would take no action against the league. Oh, they're powerful. They are some powerful sons of bitches. How do you beat high tech, people? You gotta beat them with low tech. That's how you do it. Ay, ay, ay. What a crazy, crazy world. The smear campaign was meeting with only modest political success, although it had a severe effect as financial warfare. LaRouche Democrat candidates continued to do well. In 1988, Claude Jones, a longtime and well-known LaRouche activist, was elected chairman of the Harris County, Texas Democrat Party shortly after the Illinois victories. So hey, LaRouche's got one. Harris County, which includes Houston, is one of the largest electoral districts in the United States and a Democratic Party stronghold. Jones beat a powerful incumbent to take over the party post. The Washington Post in May 1986, summing up the consensus among the liberal establishment, editorialized that Lyndon LaRouche must be in jail, not on television, by the time of the 1988 presidential elections. My God, how do you win against this type of media monstrosity? How? We got to get to the minds of the people somehow. It's a powerful thing, this running this media. All right, let's check the chat. We got a little change here. Let's see what we got. How many people we have in here? 12 people? Okay. Not bad. Rigged, 100%, Blunt Man says. Blunt Man's going off. Everything is fixed, isn't it? It's crazy. Great find. Let's see, what are we talking about? I like the background. All right, cool. Let's get back to it. An already ongoing frame-up effort. On October the 6th, 1986, less than 7 months after the Illinois primary, 400 federal, state, and county police invaded the offices of the LaRouche-associated campaigner publications in Leesburg, Virginia, in Leesburg, Virginia. I think that's the end of the sentence. FBI and Virginia State Police special sniper units were backed up by a Loudoun County SWAT team. Helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft, and even an armored personnel carrier were held in reserve at a 4-H fairground a short distance from the farm where Lyndon LaRouche and his wife were staying. In fact, recently disclosed government documents demonstrate Pentagon involvement in the Leesburg raid, specifically the Special Operations Unit of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Have these motherfuckers got some pull? That's some scary shit. So, all he did wrong was back candidates who did well and started winning. He started naming the Jew, is what he did. Again, like I said, it's not every Jew, it's not most Jews. But Jews that have this kind of power, bad news, man. Bad fucking news. All right, the mobilization of an invasion force larger than that used in Grenada in September 1983 to serve 2 search warrants and 4 arrest warrants was not the result of overzealous planning. Since no later than 1982, Erwin Sewell, Myra Lansky Boland, the Jonathan J. Pollard-linked CIA agent turned ADL dirty trickster. Again, Jonathan J. Pollard was the spy who got caught stealing nuclear secrets. And even, it said, nuclear material itself. 400 pounds of nuclear material, supposedly. And an army of other ADL agents and assets had been engaged in a systematic campaign to sick the government on LaRouche. By the time the raid took place, the government raiding party had been so jacked up by ADL disinfo that they were expecting to run into a terrorist armed camp that would make the Irish Republican Army green with envy. They got them all souped up. With all lies. All lies. I know that's your favorite line, Blunt Man. All lies. Everything lies. The March 1986 Illinois upset victory provided the ADL and its collaborators in what became known as the Get LaRouche Strike Force, with the opportunity and the motive to go all out. It's bizarro world. How did it work? Since the spring of 1982, according to the ADL's own published accounts, Sewell and company were closely collaborating with Henry Kissinger, good old Heinz. Good old Heinz, the man that said military men are stupid, dumb animals to be used for foreign policy. Yeah, that Henry Kissinger, the Rockefeller employee, who's had the ear of every president since, I don't know, Lyndon B. Johnson? The former U.S. Secretary of State and longtime LaRouche hater. In August 1982, Kissinger wrote to then FBI Director William Webster the first of a series of personal letters demanding that the FBI move to shut down the LaRouche political movement. In a subsequent, more detailed note, in November, Kissinger's attorney lies, that LaRouche had foreign intelligence ties, a lie calculated to activate government active measures under the guidelines of Executive Order 1233, signed by President Ronald Reagan in December 1981, gave the CIA, the FBI, and the Pentagon intelligence services broad latitude to investigate and disrupt groups suspected of working for hostile foreign governments. Oh, good. So they went after the ADL, right? Because they were serving a foreign government that is hostile to the United States, namely Israel? No. No, sorry. In January 1983, Kissinger's allies on the President's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board, the PFIAB, they love those anagrams, or what do they call them? Yeah, abbreviations. Made a formal request for such an active measures campaign against LaRouche. The FBI, operating through Judge Webster and Oliver Buck Revel, quickly launched such an effort. Ironically, as the Kissinger ADL wing of the national security and law enforcement apparatus of the federal government was activating its illegal war against LaRouche, President Reagan, with the backing of his national security advisor, Judge William Clark, Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger, and other senior military and security advisors, was moving ahead with the Strategic Defense Initiative. Remember that? Star Wars, SDI? A plan based on a concept advanced by LaRouche even before the Reagan administration came into office. According to court testimony in Roanoke, Virginia by Richard Morris, Judge Clark's NSC security chief, LaRouche had worked with the Reagan White House on at least 8 national security projects, including SDI, most of which are still classified to this day. Know what I've heard? All this shit with the launching satellites. We're launching satellites to help communications. And yeah, we're going to set up this space program where we're going to defend against the Russians. Well, it's all spy stuff and secret military shit. And for the banking industry. It's a communications thing for the banking industry. And it's probably got a lot of spying capability. But it was under the auspices of this SDI. Ostensibly. So, be honest with you. I don't even trust Lyndon LaRouche. I don't trust anybody. None of these fucking guys. The enemy of my enemy is my friend for a little while, though. You know what I mean? Media-controlled smear campaign. Hell yeah. Blunt Man said, yup. I agree. Yup is about all you can say to this shit. Okay. Was this a case of the right hand not knowing what the left hand was doing? Hardly. The ADL and Kissinger were painfully aware of LaRouche's growing influence with the Reagan administration, and they were out to break the rules to shut down all the LaRouche-Reagan ties. According to court testimony by the ADL's Myra Lansky-Boland, on May 24, 1990 in Roanoke, Virginia, she was an active participant from day one in the illegal government covert operation against LaRouche that led to the October 1986 raid and a series of federal and state criminal prosecutions in Boston. in Boston, New York City, Alexandria, Leesburg, and Roanoke, Virginia, and Los Angeles. The black propaganda aspect of that covert operation, which we picked up in Stockholm at the beginning of this chapter, was launched at an April 1983 meeting at the New York City office of Wall Street broker and self-styled intelligence agent John Train. No puns. I'm not even going there. Myra Lansky Boland was present at that secret meeting, representing the ADL, period. National Security Council consultant Roy Godson, a longtime ally of the ADL, was also present, along with a dozen journalists and editors from such organizations as NBC News, Reader's Digest, The New Republic, and Businessweek. A CIA funding conduit deeply involved in the secret Iran-Contra operations, the Smith-Richardson Foundation provided for the cash for the orchestrated smear campaign against LaRouche. It's funny how that Iran-Contra shit keeps coming up. Anybody here aware of Operation Mockingbird? Anybody know what it is? What's a mockingbird do? It repeats. Right? It repeats everything you tell it. So guess what? The CIA has people in our media. You could say most of our media has been taken over by Operation Mockingbird. And this happened a long time ago. Way back. 50s and the 60s, you're talking. Alex Jones might be Mockingbird. Sure. Matter of fact, you guys know Roy Cohn? Good point, Yogi. You guys know Roy Cohn, the guy who helped Trump when he was a young man starting out in business? Roy Cohn, the guy who was tied to the ADL? Who was Roy Cohn's buddy back in the day? Roger Stone. Roger Stone, Trump, Alex Jones. Yeah. Alex Jones is one of them. There's no question in my mind. He's too closely tied to these people. Too closely tied. You know what's weird, though, about Alex Jones is back in the day, he used to call out Israel. He used to say that Israel's fingerprints were all over 9/11. He was talking that kind of shit back in the day. And then he changed. And then Roger Stone showed up. And then President Trump, then candidate Trump, came into, he was running, campaigning. Isn't that when Roger Stone came up? Guess what? Alex Jones might have been the real deal. I'll give him the pass because he used to call Israel out all the time. Back in the day, like 20 years ago almost. Well, 9/11 was 17 years ago, so 15 years ago. The Sandy Hook thing, yeah, I don't know if he was already taken over, but you know what? What if Alex Jones really wanted to tell us the truth? What if he was taken over and forced to do what he's done, which is mislead the American people and talk about Chinese communists running Hollywood? Is there anything more ridiculous? Maybe when he says Chinese communists and globalists, maybe he wants us to hear Jewish, right? But he can't say it. Do you remember, did anybody see that last interview with Alex Jones? Yeah, they shot Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper wasn't trying to hear that. He was calling it like he saw it, and they had to kill him. I don't know what went down that night when those people showed up on his property. But I'd like to believe he was a patriot. I really do. But I don't know. We don't know anything in this fucking country or in this world. There's so many lies and so much obfuscation going on. How do you know? Yeah, I think... Are you talking... Marge, are you talking about Bill Cooper? Or are you talking about Alex Jones being blackmailed? Yes, I remember that. Bill Cooper called out Alex Jones. Maybe Alex Jones was no damn good from the beginning. Yeah, Alex Jones. Yeah, I think that might be true. He might have gotten blackmailed. That last interview, did you see? He says, I'm ready to die. He says, I just hope they leave my kids alone. He was drinking during the interview and all. He could be bought off. But, you know, that's how they do you. They threaten you, but they also dangle a carrot out there for you. So, if you got the option of being killed or getting paid, I mean, it's a simple thing. Yeah, he changed real fast, Alex Jones. My thoughts on Bill Hicks and AJ crossover, I don't buy it. I don't. Let's say it was true. What's it mean? You know what I mean? Let's say Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. What's gained? I don't get it. So, let's say it's true. Let's assume it's true. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't think so. I've looked at the two of them. That just seems like one of those distraction things, you know. But Bill Hicks, he was the man. He was a crazy motherfucker. Talking about the acid thing, yeah, it was just, he was amazing. AJ was always controlled? Could be. He did. AJ did a good job waking people up initially. But something changed, man. Something changed in a hurry, too. All right, let's get back into it. Either way, whether he was bought off or he was blackmailed, it's the same result, right? Alex Jones can no longer be trusted. So, let's see here. But we should never trust, we should never buy into the cult of personality anyway, right? We should just do our own research, and when somebody says X, Y, or Z, let's research it. We don't get into this cult of personality of, well, I like Alex Jones, so therefore he's telling the truth. We dig and dig and dig on our own. Guy might be right about some things, he might be wrong about others. It's on us to do the research, I think. Alright, so while much of the anti-LaRouche propaganda spewed out of NBC, The New Republic, The Wall Street Journal, and Reader's Digest consisted of name-calling aimed at scaring off active and prospective LaRouche supporters, enough charges of terrorism and international espionage were thrown in to assure that federal and state prosecutors would be forced to maintain open investigative files and eventually to launch grand jury probes. They could do this to a person. Look at this witch hunt. This was before we had the Patriot Act and the NDAA and secret FISA courts. What they could do to you now is just insane. Of course, they could always kill you, even back then. Alright, the kill phase of the ADL-led dirty war against LaRouche was already well underway when the spring 1986 events in Illinois took place. Alright, so we'll do a quick chat checker. Checking the chat. We were talking about AJ and Hicks and all that good stuff. Alright, we're not missing anything here. May have heard that on InfoWars, but I gave up on Jones, Marge says. Yep. Stone. Where did I see Stone? Stone is at InfoWars, yeah. And Stone was tied to this guy, Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn was a big ADL guy. So, those ADL hooks are in Alex Jones one way or another. I liked Adam's appearance on Red Ice Radio. I watched that today. It was a pretty good appearance. I give props to both of them. They did good today. Alright, how do I work this thing? Oh yeah, click that. There we go. Financial warfare. The ADL John Train Black propaganda campaign was not merely aimed at discouraging voters from pulling the levers for LaRouche candidates on Election Day. To successfully throw LaRouche in jail or worse, the ADL set out to bankrupt the LaRouche publishing operations, and turned some of LaRouche's own supporters and financial backers against him, spending millions of dollars and working with groups like the CIA-spawned Cult Awareness Network. Oh, I gotta look into that. Cult Awareness Network. ADL dirty tricksters targeted thousands of LaRouche campaign contributors whose names, addresses, and phone numbers were maintained in public files at the FEC. The ADL/CAN, that's the Cult Awareness Network, operators would contact relatives, financial advisors, and friends of the LaRouche supporters and literally subject them to scare tactic behavior modification. Wow. They stop at nothing, these people. These people are relentless. They're like cyborgs. The techniques used were often those developed in the secret laboratories of the CIA and the FBI for use against enemy prisoners of war and captured spies. Guys, I was on Gab the other day, and somebody posted a picture of Dianne Feinstein because something came out about her recently, and he says, "We want an FBI investigation now." I just had to laugh. I had to break out laughing. Look what the FBI does. Look at this shit. We want this crooked FBI that murdered our own citizens at Waco. This crooked FBI that beat a Trenton dude to death and told his mom to, well, maybe we should cremate him. She's like, And his body was covered from head to toe with black and blue marks. This FBI that put up the bomb for the first World Trade Center bombing because the guy they set up he strapped himself up with microphones and shit, and he had hours and hours, hundreds of hours of tape recordings with the FBI. He said to the FBI, he said, "Look, I got the bomb ready, but it's an actual bomb. You really want to let it go down?" They're like, "Yeah, let it go down." So anybody that's the FBI we're talking about. We want them to investigate Dianne Feinstein. They probably got a list of shit on Dianne Feinstein a mile long. That's probably why she's been in the Congress for so long. Right? You don't get to be a congressperson that long if you're doing the right thing. They got shit on her. And we want them to investigate. Get the fuck out of here. It's all crooked, top to bottom. Top to fucking bottom, man. Come on, man. Alright. Through these highly illegal actions, the ADL built up a profile list of weak and vulnerable people, many senior citizens whose only crime was that they financially supported the legitimate political campaign activities of Lyndon LaRouche. So they went after all the people who donated to his financing of candidates, and they started attacking them and running these mind games on them, scare tactics and shit, techniques that they used against prisoners of war, enemy prisoners of war. The names of these targets were passed on to the Department of Justice's Get LaRouche Strike Force in a fashion reminiscent of the worst of the Nazi Gestapo operations. In May 1988, after 92 days of trial, the first federal prosecution of Lyndon LaRouche and a half dozen of his associates came to a screeching halt when Boston District Court Judge Robert Keaton declared a mistrial. Evidence of wild government misconduct implicating Oliver North and Vice President George Bush had disrupted the trial so that the government wanted to be done with it. Okay, so in the process of going after LaRouche and his people, they pulled the wrong strings, and the court got word of things that would lead to higher ups like Oliver North and George Bush, and that would give away the whole game in the Iran-Contra thing. So there were bigger people to protect, and so the judge declared a mistrial when he knew damn well if they went to trial they were going to uncover some other things. These motherfuckers, man. And what's his compensation for all this false attack on him? He gets to spend, millions of dollars in defending himself with these lawyers. The lawyers make a boatload of money. His reputation is in the shitter, and then all they do is declare a mistrial. How can't they reinstate his fucking his reputation? Can't they go back and print a bunch of newspaper stories and thousands of newspapers and media outlets like they did to denigrate the man? Can't they rebuild him and say, look, it's all bullshit? No. Mm-mm. They drag you through the mud. And when you get dragged through the mud, you end up a little dirty. And there's nothing you can do about it. You're fucked. So Robert Keaton declares a mistrial, evidence of wild government misconduct implicating Oliver North and Vice President George Bush had disrupted the trial, so the government wanted to be done with it. As press reporters later showed, it had also convinced the jury that any criminal activity associated with the case had been committed by the government, not by Lyndon LaRouche. Hey, one for the good guys. Prosecution claims of credit card fraud by LaRouche campaign fundraisers and publications salesmen had been thoroughly discredited. I don't trust LaRouche anyway. I still don't. The collapse of the first government effort at framing up Lyndon LaRouche was a direct blow to the ADL. Myra Lansky Boland and Boston ADL official Sally Greenberg had been virtually integrated into the prosecution staff of Assistant U.S. Attorneys John Markham and Mark Raish. Although suffering a bad setback in Boston, the ADL-driven prosecution strike force had already opened up a second front in its illegal drive to wipe out the LaRouche movement. Who was saying something about hate speech? Yeah, when you speak the truth, that's hate speech. It's exactly what happened to LaRouche. In April 1987, Loudoun County, Virginia, Deputy Sheriff Don Moore, a Vietnam War Marine bunkmate of Ollie North and a secret paid agent of the ADL-CAN, that's the Cult Awareness Network, wrote a patently false affidavit for federal prosecutors claiming that LaRouche and company were getting ready to pick up stakes and go underground to avoid the pending federal prosecution and the prospect of paying large fines. The Moore affidavit was then used by then U.S. Attorney Henry Hudson to induce a federal bankruptcy judge to order an involuntary bankruptcy against 3 LaRouche-identified companies, including 2 publications with a combined circulation of 250,000 readers. This is hard to keep up with. In a highly illegal hearing at which no stenographic records were made and where no attorneys representing the 3 entities were present, the judge was convinced to sign the seizure order. The next day, U.S. Marshals padlocked and seized the same offices that had been raided 6 months earlier. 3 years later, the same federal bankruptcy court judge, after a full trial of the bankruptcy action, reversed his initial ruling and threw out the involuntary bankruptcy, ruling that the government had filed the petitions in bad faith and had committed fraud upon the court. A higher court upheld that ruling, and the government chose not to appeal. Why appeal it? The damage had already been done. They drug him through the mud. So even if you let him off the hook, it's ridiculous. They already drug him through the mud. They destroyed the man's reputation. And now you can't undo that. With the bankrupting of the LaRouche companies, federal prosecutors and FBI agents stepped in to advise thousands of LaRouche supporters that millions of dollars in loans they had made to those companies would not be paid unless they cooperated with the government railroad of LaRouche. So LaRouche was getting railroaded, no doubt. The claim that money would be paid back if the victims played ball with the government prosecutors was another big lie. Once the printing presses were shut down and the publications discontinued under the government trustees, the companies were penniless. So this guy has no way to run and get his candidates into office now. This is what happens when you start having success at the ballot box, no matter what you do. See, the people in mass have to get together. With any single man or even a single entity, they don't stand a chance. Once the printing presses were shut down and the publications discontinued under the government trustees, the companies were penniless. No money could be paid back because the government had taken the viable, successful publishing operations and driven them into the ground. First, through intensive ADL propaganda branding LaRouche a monster, and next, through the fraudulent bankruptcy proceeding itself. In the majority of cases, the LaRouche supporters knew it was the government, not LaRouche, that was behind the bankruptcy and their personal losses. The former supporters who did succumb to the government pressure tactics were invariably those whose families, bankers, friends, etc. were already sucked in by the ADL-CAN dirty war. Government prosecutors admitted under oath that Myra Lansky-Boland of the ADL had served as the clearinghouse for trial witnesses in all of the federal and state prosecutions of LaRouche and his associates. Lansky-Boland worked from the outset with Don Moore, the London deputy sheriff, who authored and signed the fraudulent bankruptcy affidavit. In September 92, Don Moore was arrested by the FBI for his role in a plot to kidnap two LaRouche supporters. Moore was working for the ADL Allied Cult Awareness Network in the kidnapping scheme. That case is scheduled to go to trial at the end of 1992. So this book is over 25 years old. When in December 1988, a federal jury in Alexandria, Virginia convicted LaRouche and 6 associates on conspiracy fraud charges stemming from the government and ADL instigated bankruptcies, Myra Lansky-Boland was the only non-government official to attend the victory party at the prosecutor's office. Wow. The conviction had been won on the basis of a pretrial order by Judge Albert V. Bryan, Jr., forbidding defense attorneys from informing the jury that the government had been responsible for the bankruptcy. So the fucking jury didn't even get to hear the vital information because of this fucking judge. Unbelievable. They got it covered from now to Sunday. It's unbelievable. Oh, HT9's on already? He's on early. Tried to squeeze it in before he got on. Let's see. We're almost done anyway. We got a half a page. The conviction had been won on the basis of a pretrial order by the judge forbidding the defense attorneys from informing the jury that the government had been responsible for the bankruptcy. Back in 1987, Bryan had been the judge who initially upheld that bankruptcy action. At the sentencing of LaRouche and the others in January 1989, Judge Bryan boasted that Boston trial judge Robert Keaton owed him a cigar for ensuring that LaRouche and the others were so quickly convicted and shipped off to prison. The jailing of LaRouche in what amounted to a thoroughly unjust life sentence did not end the ADL drive to destroy LaRouche and his political movement. They will stop at nothing. The state of Virginia, as part of the ADL's Get LaRouche Dirty War, had joined in the feeding frenzy by indicting over 20 LaRouche associates on state charges stemming from the identical bankruptcy scheme. In a series of trials in Roanoke, Virginia, the ADL was caught red-handed in a judge-buying effort. State Judge Clifford Weckstein, a political protege of Virginia ADL Chief Murray Janus, and other top state ADL figures, was provided with a full collection of ADL smear sheets on LaRouche by the league, in a series of back-and-forth letters released by Wechstein in the trial of one of the LaRouche defendants. It was revealed that Janus and other local ADL officials had mooted. It was revealed that Janus and other local ADL officials had mooted they would back Wechstein for a seat on the Virginia State Supreme Court. The implication that his handling of the LaRouche prosecutions would be crucial to his future career on the bench was apparently not lost on the judge. Michael Billington, a LaRouche associate, who had already served over 2 years in federal prison as the result of the Alexandria federal case, was sentenced by Wechstein to 77 years in state prison on patently phony loan fraud charges. And there you have it. I bet you this Kavanaugh guy is just as dirty. I would not be surprised. You don't get an invitation to the Supreme Court unless you got time in. You know what I'm saying? Alright, I guess that's about it. I don't want to run concurrent with the HT9. So, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining me. We'll knock out the next chapter. Maybe later tonight. Stick in. Hang out. Maybe we'll do the after party. Alright. Blunt man. I guess you're already gone. If you're watching, I love you. Deuces.